Problem number 11. Okay, so as usual, first thing we're going to do is we're going to identify f of x. Right, so our f of x is, in this case, x cubed divided by 3 plus 1 divided by 4x. Right, and our bounds, let's see, our bounds a, b are going to be 1 to 2. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to take the derivative, right? So f prime of x, and our f prime is going to be x squared divided by, well, the 3 is going to cancel out with the 3 in the exponent is going to cancel out with the 3 in the denominator. So we're just going to have x squared here. And the derivative of the 1 over 4x is going to come out to be 1 divided by 4x squared. Right? Another way you can look at this is the 1 over 4x, you can write it as 1/4 times x to the power of minus 1, right? So when you apply the power rule, when you take the derivative, the minus 1 comes down as a coefficient. It makes the 1/4 x negative. That's why we have the minus sign here. And then you reduce the power by 1, which means you have x to the minus 2, which is why you have the x squared down here in the denominator. Alright, so now that we have our derivative, we want to square it. Right, so we're going to square this. Now, before we square it, let's actually combine the x squared and the negative 1 over 4x squared together to make a single fraction. So let's see, we're going to have 4x to the power of 4 minus 1 divided by 4x squared, all squared. Okay, so this looks good. X squared times 4x squared gives you 4x power 4. And you have the minus 1 here divided by the 4x squared. So we're just going to add 1 to this. So 1 plus f prime of x squared is 1 plus 4x to the power 4 minus 1 divided by 4x squared. And let's actually square this, expand it, and then try to combine all the terms and simplify. So we're gonna get, let's see. All right, so we're gonna get 1 plus 4x power 4 minus 1 all squared divided by 16 x to the power 4, which is equal to 16 times x to the power 4. And we're going to expand this here. So this will also come out to be, well, here we'll have 16 times x to the power of 8 minus 8x to the power of 4 plus a 1. And then we're going to divide this by 16x to the power of 4, right? So at this point, all we have to do is group up the terms in the numerator, try to simplify this. Now I want to say, like, with these arc length problems, you'll notice a pattern with the ones that you where you have to solve it by hand, and that pattern is that typically the functions sort of work their way to become something squared. And the problems are usually designed that way so that when you take the square root, you'll be taking the square root of something squared, which allows you to solve the problem easily. Otherwise, it'll be pretty hard. So here we can combine like terms. We have a 16x to the power of 4, a negative 8x to the power of 4. So 16 minus 8 gives us 8x to the power of 4. So that means we're going to have 16. Let me actually write this in a slightly different color. So now we're going to have see, 16 minus 8, we get 8. So we'll have 16 times x to the power of 8 plus 8x to the power of 4 plus a 1. And we're going to divide this by 16 x to the power of 4. Right, so the good thing is now that we've simplified this a little bit, the numerator looks more like some kind of quantity being squared, and you can tell because of the 16x to the power of 8. That's just 4x to the power of 4 squared. Of course, 1 is just 1 squared. And the 8x to the power of 4 is just 2 times 4 times x to the power of 4, right? So this looks like a quantity of, let's see, we have, it looks like a squared plus 2ab plus b squared, right? So we can actually just sort of simplify this out to be a plus b squared. So that's what we're going to do over here, right? Our a here is the 4x to the power of 4, and our b is 1. So we're going to simplify this out to be 4x to the power of 4 plus 1 squared divided by, now 16x to the power of 4 is just 4 times x to the power of 2 all squared. So this is 4x squared all squared. Right, so this can actually just be written as 4x to the power of 4 plus 1. Make this, this 4 is a little too big. 4x to the power of 4 plus 1 divided by 4x squared all squared. All right, oh, this is also squared. All right, so this is good because now we can take the square root. So we can say the square root of 1 plus f prime squared is equal to the square root of this quantity. 4x power 4 plus 1 squared divided by 4x squared squared. So this comes out to be just 4x to the power 4 plus 1 divided by 4x squared. All right, so we're one step closer to solving this problem, right? So we're not done just yet because we're going to have to integrate this. And in the process of integrating it, it's going to help us to sort of distribute the denominator to each term on the numerator. That way we have two separate fractions. Right, because once we have two separate fractions, we can integrate them individually to get a solution. So this is how we're going to do that. So we're going to write the integral from 1 to 2. Right, so the integral from 1 to 2 of 4x power 4 plus 1 over 4x squared dx. And we can write this integral as the integral from 1 to 2. Now 4x to the power of 4 divided by 4x squared is just x squared. And then 1 divided by 4x squared is just 1/4 of x to the negative 2. Right, so this is what we have to integrate, and it's actually pretty straightforward. This will just come out to be x power 3 over 3. And in here, we're going to have 1/4 x to the negative 1 divided by negative 1. So this will be minus 1/4 x to the negative 1. Or we can simply just write that as minus 1 over 4x. All right, so we're just going to evaluate this from 1 to 2. So at 2, we have 2 cubed over 3, right? 2 cubed is just 8, so this would be 8 over 3. right? And then plugging 2 here, we're going to have 1 over 4 times 2. So that's 1 over 8. Okay, and then at 1, we're going to have 1 cubed over 3. So that's just 1/3. And over here, 4 times 1 is 4. So we have 1 over 4. We're going to need a little bit more space to sort of simplify this out. So let's clear this part of the board. And let's see, so we have 8/3 minus 1 over 8 and minus 1/3. And then the double negatives here give us positive 1/4. So plus 1 over 4. And let's see if we can simplify this. So it looks like the common denominator between the 3, the 8, and the 4 happen to be a 24. So we're going to do 8/3 would become 64 over 24. Over here we would have 3 over 24. Over here we would have 8 over 24. And then over here we would have 6 over 24. So this would be 64 minus 3 minus 8 plus 6 all over 24. Alright, so 64 minus 3, 61, minus 8 gives us 53, or yeah, 53, plus 6 gives us 59. So it looks like our final answer is 59 divided by 24.